Good morning, everyone watching live on BAM YouTube. We are live from Las Vegas, Nevada, here at 6:30 Pacific time. Let me know in the comments where you are tuning in live from. The Hot Sheet covers what you need to know in a 24-hour time period for the real estate industry. On today's Hot Sheet, I will cover the Fed's rate hike, NAR's reaction to it, and location matters now more than ever. Today is Tuesday, February 2nd, 2023, and the Hot Sheet starts now. As expected yesterday, the Fed raised rates a quarter point, and they expect ongoing increases. Jerome Powell spoke for almost 45 minutes yesterday. I watched the whole thing. I've got my notes here for you, so you don't have to watch it. I'm going to give you the highlights and how this is going to impact housing. Give me a thumbs up if you're loving the Hot Sheet. Please consider sharing this with one person who could benefit from a 24-hour look back on all things housing market related. Okay, let's get started with Jerome Powell and what he had to say about our economy and this federal interest rate hike. Some of the highlights here, aligning with market expectations, the rate setting Federal Open Market Committee boosted the federal funds rate by 0.25 percentage points, so 25 basis points. That takes it to a target range of 4.5% to 4.75%. This is the federal interest rate. This is not anything to do, obviously, with mortgage rates. There's a bunch that we're going to talk about that right before the end of the show. The move marked the 8th increase in a process that began in March 2022. By itself, the funds rate sets what banks charge for their overnight borrowing, but it also spills through many consumer debt products. All right, I'm going to go through his speech, my highlights. Some of this relates to his direct speech, and then some of this was the Q&A after. I mean, Jerome Powell, credit to him. He stands there and takes a whole bunch of Q&A. Some of our politicians maybe could learn a thing or two from Jerome Powell. All right, so real GDP for 2022 was about 1%, Jerome Powell says. We saw that in quarter four, and we talked about it here on the Hot Sheet, that 2.9% increase in GDP, but we had those 2 quarters were actually negative last year. So overall as a year, we were 1%, which he said was good. They want to be at about 1% or below in 2023. They do not want to go into the negatives. Okay, this is what you're all saying is, yeah, if we have to go into the negatives as it relates to GDP, if we have to push into recession, yeah, certainly if that's what it takes, we will do that to get inflation down to 2%. I marked down here 2% goal, 2% goal, 2% goal. Jerome Powell said this multiple times when he's talking about inflation. Of course, we're at 6.5%. So things are encouraging. For the first time, Jerome Powell said things like that, okay, we've actually seen disinflation. It's the first time he used that word during these 8 increases that began in March 2022. So a lot of economists, a lot of forecasters saw that as a really good sign, encouraging. But Jerome Powell said, we need substantially more evidence. They don't have near enough evidence to stop increasing the federal interest rate. In fact, he expects that when they meet in March, they're going to do another raise. So many believe that'll be a 25 basis point raise. He kind of watered down those rumors that we've been hearing on news and on Twitter that they're going to start cutting rates at the end of the year. I spoke about this on yesterday's Hot Sheet, where the Fed, there was this rumor that the Fed will be increasing now to only decrease later in the year. He didn't validate those rumors. He didn't take it out of the question, but he certainly did not validate it. When he talked about where demand is down, he said particularly housing demand is down. We've seen that reflective in quarter 3 and quarter 4, and he believes that those numbers, when they meet in March, that when they meet again after that, are going to validate that housing demand is way down. He was very happy about that. Of course, he said he wanted to reset the housing market, and he did just that late last year. All All right, this lower pace allows committee to better assess the drop. So, there's been this belief that if they just pause right now, because we're seeing these good signs, we're seeing, momentum here in the right direction, and wait and see that the Fed could do the same thing. But he says just going to this lower, um, rate drop is accomplishing that same goal. Okay. Housing services inflation is going to go up, then go down. So housing services inflation will go up, but then it will go down. Core services, X housing, we do not see disinflation yet. Okay, so core services, X housing, we do not see disinflation yet. He did say right now we're sitting, even with all the incursion signs that we've talked about, we are at a point where we have the highest inflation of the last 40 years still today. Okay, so he's just like, we got to get the job done. We're not going to stop until we get this job done. He does assume that new leases in housing are going to come in weaker. We talked about that here just last week in the hot sheet, where rents are starting to come down. So he believes new leases are going to be weaker. Okay. When we talk about job market, and this is a big one because this has a direct impact on housing. I've said this multiple times. Obviously, the interest rate, we're going to get to the interest rate and what the 10 years reaction and the 30-year fixed mortgage rates reaction was to the Fed, what they did yesterday. But unemployment would be the other catalyst that would really pull down values across America in housing. Okay. So he says that there is a chance that unemployment can remain strong, meaning we don't have a huge wave of unemployment. We're at low unemployment. We still see a strong job market, especially with those 250 or less employee companies. Okay. So he says there is a chance unemployment can remain strong and we get back to 2% inflation. But he then said it's not likely, but it is possible. So he is hinting towards more pain coming as it relates to people losing their jobs. He is hinting towards that we could see unemployment rise right now. It's 6:30 in the morning here. We've got a little room service coming into the room. We're all A-okay. We're doing the hot sheet. Have you ever heard it? Go tune into YouTube. We're doing the hot sheet live. So unemployment remains strong, and we'll get back to this 2% on inflation. Inflation, it's not likely, but it's possible that unemployment could remain strong. All right, let's see what the exact changes were from the last time that the Fed met and where we are today. Okay, and in the red, you'll see, and we'll link this below. We've got our daily sources download below, and all of our slides. You can grab those down below. Recent indicators point to modest growth in spending and production. Job gains have been robust in recent months. Hey, by the way, in the comments, if you just think that was the most psychotic thing on the hot sheet ever, little room service coming in, I actually asked them, hey, just drop it off at the door, but they just can't do that. They refuse to do that. We've got tea, because this dry weather scratches me out. This is not zero drinks last night, by the way. I haven't had a drink all year. So this is not any, it's sleep deprived and dry weather, and wanted the tea before the show, but it takes 40 minutes apparently for room service for tea. Anyways, recent indicators point towards modest growth in spending and production. Job gains have been robust in recent months, and the employment rate has remained low. Inflation has eased somewhat, but remains elevated. Okay, reflecting supply and demand imbalances. That what's been taken out. Didn't reference the war. Okay, that was a question that came up. Didn't even talk about the war. Okay, so maybe the Fed's look is, okay, we're past a little bit of those issues, that supply chain issues that were creating inflation as it relates to the war. So much more positive overall, but steadfast on the fact that we're going to continue to plow through until the job is done. And every indication is that we're going to see another federal rate increase, which is going to bring more pain to the economy and potentially job losses as we move, longer into 2023. All right, what was NAR's reaction, National Association of Realtors reaction to this federal interest rate hike and Jerome Powell's speech? Let's take a look. Please see the following statement by Lawrence Yun, Chief Economist and Senior Vice President of Research, regarding today's Federal Reserve decision. I mean, listen, if I could get as paid as much as Lawrence Yun to put out, just a paragraph like this, sign me up for that job, NAR. I'll put in my application today, NAR. Go look up Lawrence Yun's salary if you don't know what I'm talking about. The Fed is showing its willingness to adjust policy based on data. Softer inflation of late led to a softer rate increase today. Okay. As inflation calms further from rising apartment vacancies in upcoming months. Okay, that was a big thing that we just talked about with the Fed. The Fed will adjust to a no rate increase by the middle of the year and even a rate cut by December. That is good news for mortgage rates, which will possibly fall to 5.5% by the end of the year. Okay, so NAR's stance, Lawrence Yun's stance. Way to go, Lawrence, by the way. Way to get out a paragraph yesterday after the big news. Yeah, I have more notes than Lawrence. Anyways, 5.5% by the end of the year. Certainly all indications are pointing towards that. I wouldn't be surprised, and I have a prediction at the end of the show, if we hit a 5 handle today on the 30-year fixed rate. We're going to talk about more about what that could mean for housing. But yeah, the 10-year, what if you didn't follow 10-year yesterday, you didn't follow the 10-year this morning, we're going to show it to you at the end. Big indicator that what Lawrence Yun is saying is, yes, mortgage rates are going to continue to drop. We saw that mortgage applications drop last week. So hopefully this drop in mortgage rates is actually going to increase demand. Again, we need supply. These are all conversations we've been having on the hot sheet. So if you're just catching up, go back and watch the last couple of weeks. Okay, let's move over to location. And this is where I think this is, when you're listening to Jerome Powell, he's really talking about, when he mentions housing, he's talking about this national outlook, because that's his job, right? His job is to look at the entire nation. But this market, more so than ever, is a location market. This isn't 2008, folks, where things dropped off a cliff in every single town, city in America. This is a very localized situation. If you're an agent, an advisor, a lender, you really got to dig in. Yes, nationally, this stuff we're talking about on the hot sheet and related to locally, but you got to go even deeper on your local market. Let's take a look at what we see for some local markets according to Burns Home Value Index. This is a slide from Fortune. We'll put this down below where you can download all of our sources and slides. The home price correction is sharpest out west. Okay, you can see Seattle has taken a significant drop. LA, significant drop. San Francisco, significant drop. That being said, on the East Coast and Middle America, you've got Chicago, flat. New York actually increasing a bit. Washington, flat. You can tell me in the comments what it's like for your market. I was actually just talking to Christy yesterday, excuse me, at the Refer Mastermind, and she's from San Jose. She was commenting here on the hot sheet just the other day, and she said, man, some of those numbers are right on. San Jose, definitely down in some areas, 15, 20%. She told me a story about a home that was just purchased for $1.9 million in a neighborhood, and then same neighborhood, home sells for $1.3 million. Okay, so now she's seeing the opposite in San Jose. She's seeing those homes go up. She does believe they'll go back down at some point this year, but she's like, demand is crazy right now, and that makes sense. San Jose, a lot of analytical homeowners, a lot of analytical buyers, a lot of tech savvy people in San Jose. So they're looking at information like we're talking about right here on the hot sheet. Ooh, mortgage interest rates are down. I'm going to lock in now. I'm going to go to make this move now, whether that's, a move up or I'm going to buy the first home or whatever. So that makes sense. The more we're prepared to have this deep conversation with our clients, whether they're blue collar, or in tech industry, everybody in between, the more we can go deep and actually explain to them what's happening and then show them on the local market what that actually means for them, that's when we're going to build more trust. That's when we're going to have more confidence for people in our local markets, because they may be just seeing these numbers here, right? They might just be seeing these numbers and saying, wow, everything's crashing. But if they're in one of these markets, it's not the case for them. Another interesting slide here, which we'll put down below. This is showing America and Canada. Okay, real home prices versus real disposable income. Okay, I thought this was interesting because we are in a situation, Shane near San Jose, and he's seeing the same thing. Shout out to Shane in the comments. Real home prices versus real disposable income percent change Q1 1975 to Q1 2022. Okay, you can see home prices is the red line. Okay, and then incomes is this gray line. Okay, so we're pretty close in America. Canada, of course, just banned American buyers. A lot of different restrictions and different rules about that, but Canada just banned American investors for a period of 3 years. Why? Because look at their home prices. They want less demand for their homes so that they can drive these home prices down, because their incomes are lagging way behind home prices. Well, we complain about this all the time, right? We're complaining about this little inflection point right here where incomes have dipped below home prices. But I don't know. If you were in Canada, it's completely different. I know you do get healthcare in Canada, so maybe that makes up for the big gap. I don't know. All right. I just thought that was an interesting chart. That's down below if you're interested in that. Maybe somebody that maybe a client of yours that owns in both countries. That might be an interesting chart to share with them, or somebody that's, you get a lot of people on Twitter saying they're moving out of America, and that might be a good chart to share with them. They can't do that now anyways, unless they change residency. Okay. Anyways, we're getting off on a tangent. I thought it was a good indicator, good reminder, some of those slides that were just released here in the last week, to really dig in locally. Take the hot sheet information, take these slides and tie it back to whatever local market you're in, because that's where people are really being misled by some of these national headlines. And if they listened to Jerome Powell yesterday, they might have been even more confused than they were before. I hope I was able to help dispel some of the confusion. Okay, the 10-year doesn't seem to be confused at all. The 10-year yield has reacted what we would consider, for housing in a positive way, because we want this 10-year to go down so the 30-year continues to go down. So we've got a 10-year yield that not only dropped significantly yesterday, but is continuing to drop today. In fact, if you look at the one-day CNBC chart on the 10-year Treasury, and I'll just refresh this up to the second. We'll go to 1 day. Here we are. It's a sharp decline that is happening right now. Yesterday, that impacted the 30-year fixed in a real positive way. We went from 6.17 the day before to yesterday coming in on a 30-year fixed rate at 6.04. That's before today's sharp 10-year drop. So I am predicting that today we will actually see a 5 handle, meaning we will have a high 5% interest rate on this number for February 2nd. That would be huge news. That's news and information that every home shopper should have at their fingertips. And I would anticipate that end of the week here, beginning of the week next week, if we're in a high 5% average interest rate across the country, that we will see mortgage applications increase. We saw that decline last week. So we should now, we'll be watching closely. We'll be talking about next week on the hot sheet. We should see those those mortgage applications increase. Speaking of jobs, we'll be talking about that tomorrow on the hot sheet. Also today, we'll be doing a walkthrough. It's going up, premiering at 5 p.m. We've got Danny Deals, myself, and Eric live here from Las Vegas. Maybe a special guest. I don't know. I don't know if there's a guest or not. Bobby's looking at me with blanks. But Bobby is not going to be the guest. But we've got something really big to share on that. And also, if you haven't done it already, make sure that you download this 40+ page ebook that we just dropped with Chris Smith. So BAM and the Conversion Club collabed on this. AI tools for real estate agents. This is 40 plus pages. Okay, this is just insane. I'm going to give you a little bit of a preview here. This is the table of contents. You can go to nowbam.com/AI. There's a link below. You can just use as a free ebook. Okay, so you can just download this. This isn't just chat GPT stuff. This is everything you need to know for AI. There's a little preview. By the way, we're doing a workshop with Chris February 16th to go even deeper on this 40-page ebook. That ebook's free. It's everything you need to know for AI tools for real estate. Get that down below. We'll see you to finish off the week.
Before you go,
Bobby,
we have a lot of commenters here
comments.
live from Las Vegas.
Live from Las Vegas? I'm surprised you're even up, Rebecca.
And
Eric is not up. He's sleeping somewhere. I don't know.
Rebecca, we got Xander Realty Group from
Xander, shout out to you.
And Rebecca wants to know that you'd love to meet the hot sheet.
Rebecca, absolutely. I'm doing main stage 3:00 at Elite today. And so come up and say hi. I'll be there hanging out a little bit before and after. And I don't know. Who knows what we're doing tonight? I don't know. I tell you what, I'm not drinking again. So Eric and Dan, they can get pissed at me again. But somebody's got to do the hot sheet tomorrow morning, and it's not going to be them. We'll see you to close out the week tomorrow, 6:30 Pacific time, 9:30 Eastern time. See you tomorrow, and I'll see you in Las Vegas if you're here. Toodaloo.